in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Hello there, many thanks for joining us on Razep Africa this beautiful day. As usual, we're here to give you updates of everything happening across Africa, how you too can participate in making this beautiful continent the most beautiful in the world. Again, as usual, we'll start with the African news update and then get to an interview segment where today we'll be discussing culture as a strategic tool, how cultural diplomacy shapes Nigeria's global influence and local development. So much to discuss with my guest who is already seated. We have right here in the studio Ambassador Dixon, the Executive Director of the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy. So happy to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, Ambassador Dixon Omoregie is going to be a regular here on the show as part of the Razep Africa project. But at this moment, we'll go for a short break. When we return, it will be time for the African news update. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that. Now the news update, African news update. South Africa has announced plans to deploy troops as part of a broader regional security commitment, reinforcing its role in continental peace and stability efforts. Officials say that the deployment is aimed at strengthening collective security mechanisms and supporting ongoing missions designed to combat military threats and stabilize fragile states. The move reflects Pretoria's continued involvement in African-led peace operations amid rising insecurity in parts of the continent. This decision also comes at a time of shifting geopolitical tensions across the Horn of Africa, where sovereignty disputes and regional alliances are increasingly shaping security calculations. While South Africa positions itself as a key peacekeeping actor, questions remain about the cost, risk and long-term sustainability of such deployment. Meanwhile, the African Union's Peace and Security Council has strongly condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland as an independent state, calling it an affront to Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. In a communique, the AU rejected what it described as the unilateral recognition of the so-called Republic of Somaliland and demanded its immediate revocation. Israel became the first and only country to formally recognize Somaliland in December last year, a move widely criticized by African and Arab states. In response, Somalia has cancelled a military agreement with the United Arab Emirates and strengthened defense ties with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, while also, of course, welcoming Turkish fighter jets onto its soil, signaling a rapid realignment of regional alliances. And in a related development, Kenya has announced that its border with Somalia is set to reopen, marking a significant step towards restoring trade and diplomatic engagements between the two neighbors. The border had previously been closed over security concerns linked to cross-border militant activity. The reopening is expected to revive local economies and improve bilateral cooperation, although authorities have emphasized that enhanced security coordination will remain in place. The move reflects cautious optimism that economic collaboration can coexist with continued vigilance in a region long challenged by instability. Turning to West Africa, Ghana has introduced a weekly Fugu Friday initiative aimed at promoting locally made textile and strengthening domestic industries. The campaign encourages citizens to wear traditional northern Ghanaian woven fabric once a week in a bid to stimulate local production and preserve cultural heritage. Officials say that initiatives form part of a broader effort to boost small-scale manufacturing and reduce reliance on imported goods. By linking cultural identities to economic empowerment, authorities hope to create sustainable income streams for artisans and local businesses. However, economic pressures continue to weigh heavily on another key sector of Ghanaia's economy, as unpaid cocoa farmers say they are being forced to go hungry. Joseph Bema Daute, a 65-year-old farmer, says he has delivered 6 bags of cocoa months ago but has yet to receive payment, forcing him to limit himself to 1 meal a day. Ghana, the world's second largest cocoa producer, is grappling with falling global demand that has pushed international price down to around $4,000 per metric ton. However, the country's higher fixed farm gate price has discouraged buyers, leaving roughly 50,000 metric tons unsold at ports. Regulators say discussions are underway to solve the crisis as farmer groups signal willingness to accept reforms that better link local prices to global market trends. Finally, Africa has emerged as the world's fastest-growing solar energy market in 2025, defying a broader global slowdown in renewable expansion. A new industry report says the continent's installed solar capacity expanded by 17% last year, driven largely by increased imports of Chinese-manufactured solar panels and rising electricity demand. Globally, solar capacity grew by 23% to 618 gigawatt in 2025, a slower pace than the previous year. Industry leaders say Chinese companies are playing a central role in Africa's green transition by investing aggressively and strengthening supply chains across the continent. Analysts say the growth presents an opportunity to close Africa's energy access gap, providing infrastructure and policy framework to keep pace. That's it for the African News Update this morning. We will go for a short break. When we return, it will be time to have that conversation I told you about, discussing culture, diplomacy, and how it shapes global perceptions. We'll be right back after this short break.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that. Today on Razep Africa, we are joined by Ambassador Dixon Omoregie, Executive Director of the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy. Now, as a nation, Nigeria, increasing leverage culture from music, film, festival, cuisine, traditional heritage, and digital media to build bridges and foster collaboration. Cultural diplomacy has emerged as a cornerstone of modern soft power. Nigeria, one of Africa's most vibrant cultural exporters, increasingly finds itself at an intersection of both cultural influence and diplomatic strategy. From international cultural festivals to repatriation of heritage and global creative partnerships, cultural diplomacy is reshaping how countries connect, collaborate, and co-create shared values and futures. Now, that is what we'll be discussing on today's edition. Again, I thank you so much for being part of the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, if you have to give us an idea why cultural diplomacy in practical terms is important for any country to take seriously, how would you put it?
Thank you very much once again. For cultural diplomacy to be taken seriously in any country or any environment, cultural diplomacy is simply, as you know, a soft power approach to issues. Cultural diplomacy is simply using what you know, where you are born, what you are taught to change your environment, to change your neighborhood, and by extension, extend it to make impact in the global world. That is cultural diplomacy, and that is the simplest way we can describe it.
Now, a lot of times we look at how our government engage internationally, and that right there is sending a message, is shaping the image. Would you say that we're doing a good job? I remember at the beginning of the Tinubu administration, we had him travel around, a move that was highly criticized by critics and commentators, but he insisted that he was trying to make the world understand that Nigeria was ready for business. Was that move one you, as an expert in cultural diplomacy, would you applaud that move, and has it yielded fruit over 2 years down the line?
Yeah, the intention actually was a good intention. However, remember, when we think we are interfacing with the global community, most of this global community know us more than ourselves.
They do? How are they able to figure us out like that?
They know us more than ourselves because they have representatives here. For instance, nearly all the countries in the world, they have embassies in Nigeria. And these are their first point of contact. So whatever we are doing here in this country, they are aware and they communicate back to their various homes. So when we now go to their home country and initiate anything and begin to tell story, tell them what we are not.
They already have reports.
They already have reports already. So that's why I say the intentions are good, but the practicality, the application may not be. But however, you see, in cultural diplomacy, whoever you are, no matter how unprofessional a government is, if you go to any other country, they will not harass you, they will not despise you, they will not reject you, they will listen to you. Okay. But the effect will simply be they may not apply what you have come for. So that's cultural diplomacy.
Okay, that's but how should we behave? It means if we are intentional about sending a certain image to any part of the world, the activities should be in country because the world is watching.
Yes, you see, cultural diplomacy once again is the way we live, the way we operate, the way we practice among ourselves. Now, if you look at our environment today, cultural diplomacy is actually not being honored. I say so emphatically because cultural diplomacy is love.
Okay.
Cultural diplomacy is feeling. Feel your brother, love your brother, share good things with your brother, not understand him, discuss with him. But here you can see the way we kill ourselves, we maim ourselves, we harass ourselves. That is not the practice of cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy is peace. Bringing the value in my culture and sharing it with the value in your culture for us to forge collaboration, for us to end peace, and that peace will further grow business. It's only when we are at peace that we can do business. When we are not at peace, we cannot do business. We cannot negotiate, we cannot discuss because there will be no trust. So cultural diplomacy is peace. Cultural diplomacy is trust. Cultural diplomacy is engagement. Engagement for the purpose of unity and progress. Absolutely.
So how does it make you feel when sometimes you see that we are losing our culture, or rather keeping it aside to adopt foreign cultures in our meals, in our movies, it reflects every aspect of our lives. Meanwhile, the world respects and admires us for the beautiful culture and tradition that we have, but back here we rather would, shortchange it for Western cultures.
Yes, each time I experience such, my heart bleeds. One of the reasons why we are not actually being valued is that the authorities, they do not value their culture, they don't value what they have, they don't patronize what they have, they don't reward those who are practicing culture. I'm not here to run down any kind of a program. Now, at what time have we seen people who are best dressed, people who are practicing cultural diplomacy being rewarded or being given some ambassadorial positions? At what time have we seen them being applauded? When are we using them as model?
Exactly.
Instead, we are bringing some foreign films to put them in the house and begin to practice whatever manner of behavior, some go naked, some make love or film, and they are rewarded openly. Exactly. They are rewarded with cars and with millions.
And brand deals.
And brand deals. Whereas, how many times have we decided, okay, now let state A interface with state B? Let them share common cultures. Let them interface. Let them share among themselves what is not available in state A. Let them show it. Let state A show it to state B. While state B also show it to state A. So when we have these cross-cultural activities, cross-cultural engagement, they now feel richer. They now feel overwhelmed. They now say yes, it is good. They feel part of that culture. Remember, when two different cultures interfaces, they see love among themselves. Of course, marriage comes in.
Absolutely.
When marriage comes in, there are some things also that they are not aware of, that they are now beginning to see in their culture. They now love it. Let me digress a little. We want to organize a kind of program now the kind of program we want to organize is that we can say, okay, now 10 families in Nigeria. We get about other 10 families in other countries. They will come to Nigeria. They are not going to a hotel. They will stay with those families.
Okay. Yes, there was this cultural exchange program that I grew up watching, but it was in America at the time. Swap Wives. I can't remember how it was, but it's about the same synopsis where you go live in another state, another family, and see how you adapt. And often the way they raise their children, the way they eat their meals is often so different. You come out better and more educated and more tolerable also to others.
Yes, that's exactly what we want to do. So the application is going to be very simple. If a family comes, for example, a family from New Zealand or a family from America comes to my family, they stay with me in my house, they feel with my children, they relax with my children. When my family is going to market, they go to market together. When they come up from market, they prepare the same meal together. Exactly. We eat it together. You see, that is one of the rich activities that culture can give to us.
Exactly.
Then also, if we're able to do maybe 10 families now, we have 10 different families from various countries. They come and interface with that kind of cross-cultural activity. Look, these are cultures. Whenever there's going to be maybe misunderstanding between the two countries, they begin to think about their person that is there. They begin to have their feeling that they have their body there, they have their soul there, they have their interest there.
Absolutely.
So these are cultural activities we are talking about. With this also,
that's true.
These are the things we are talking about. Thank you very much.
That's true. What do you think about this Fugu Friday that the Ghanaian leadership has introduced, where at least every Friday, once a week, you get to wear the indigenous outfit? So just, I mean, I can't blame it at all. I am all for it.
It's an initiative we had here in Nigeria sometime ago in 2012, but it was not welcome. We said one day in a week, which they are practicing at this Fugu Friday, you are your attire. Look, it makes you colorful. The entire country, it gives a national color. It gives a national description. It gives a national presentation before the global world that look at what is happening. And also, it may not just end in their attire. They can also say on that day also, in their homes, they should eat their traditional food.
Right.
Not any of those jumbo-jastic and imported fried whatever. They should eat their traditional food. These are culture. These are ways that culture can be sustained and culture can be exported. Just imagine, just look at, I'm sure now and the end of this year, other countries will also emulate it.
I'm hoping that Nigeria adopts it once again. I know we have a casual Friday in Nigeria where you dress in your local attires. But Ambassador, we've had conversations with several individuals. We did a Vox Pop one time where we asked Nigerians, how would you feel uncomfortable if your students in school wore the adire or the Ankara to school? How would you feel? Or if you have to go to your banks and they are not corporately dressed, how would you feel? And you will be surprised. You would think a lot of people would go for it. But we saw relatively people who were like, nope, we don't want that kind of, it makes it look too casual. I may not take them seriously and all of that. How does it make you feel when Africans themselves do not seem to admire the beautiful, vibrant and colorful culture that we have?
Yes, that has to be what is called imported culture. That's imported culture. Whereas in our schools, if we practice it, maybe if you look at it and some schools practice it, they will say they call it sport day, some call it traditional day. So most schools, they do practice it. So it's very good. I also, let's digress a little, one of our countries in Africa, Burkina Faso, if you look at their judiciary presently, they now wear their traditional attire, so their robe or their gown, whatever they call it. So they are domesticating cultural values, cultural activities, cultural development in their country, which is very good. So when we do this, okay, look at people who are married today, wear suit. They wear, the ladies, they wear, how do you call it?
The white wedding gown?
That's not our culture.
It's not.
It's not our culture. So we're looking at today, when we are marrying, we wear our traditional regalia.
But we have that. We first of all give tradition its due. We have the traditional wedding, and now we adopt, the Western wedding. I don't know how that was introduced to us, but it's almost as if you did not complete your marriage if you do not do both.
Yes, though this is not a forum for that. Well, if you do the traditional, ordinarily you have completed the marriage.
You've completed marriage, right?
But because of that Western, culture, because of that Western import, if we did not do that, we feel not complete.
Exactly. So it's like I did not finish. You didn't finish marrying me.
Yeah, not finish.
You didn't finish marrying me.
Culturally, yes. And also, we have to stop this idea of this was what my colleague did. They did traditional, they did white.
So I must do it too.
I must do the wear suit, I must wear suit. Although we have all done it, but we now discover that there's nothing like culture. Culture should be valued, culture should be respected, and culture should be imitated.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how does the diplomatic practice that we have now, because moving from that standing out, you need to stand out, and to stand out means to align with the West, and reaching out, meaning that mutual cultural engagement, rather than a one-way projection where you say, we are Africans, you're coming to experience Africa, you cannot be more Western than the West, and so when people come to us, we must show that we're Africans. So how can government enact policies that again, brings out our culture and traditions without necessarily impeding in the rights of individuals to dress as they please and all of that?
Yes. For us to end that, those who are being seen displaying their culture, growing with their culture, valuing their culture, should have some kind of incentive. They should be branded. They say, yes, the best cultural president in Nigeria, the best cultural minister in Nigeria. Look at...
those awards have impact? Because, so what, you're considered the best culturally dressed. Our president, for instance, has made us proud, has shown the path. You rarely see him on Western suits. He goes there, no matter how cold it is, he's on the kaftan. Yes. He has shown us how to sell the country firsthand. He stands amongst other African presidents and leaders who are all suited up, and he wears his kaftan.
Yes.
So how has that reverberated? Has it given us any path whatsoever?
Yes, it becomes an identity. He is singled out among many.
Yes.
To say,
all the time.
This is cultural. Look at where he's coming from. It's a brand. It's an identity. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
Even if you look at it in the 60s. When we had our independence, look at the Nnamdi Azikiwe, look at all that. They wear their big regalia.
That was what gave them African pride.
When they are with the Queen, when they were with Queen Elizabeth and all that, they are proud of their regalia. They're proud of their agbada and all of that which they are wearing. So that is our identity. We need to continue it. Recently, we had a traditional activity. I was with the Irish ambassador and his wife. They came to me and snapped with me when I was also with my traditional regalia. They love it. I wish we love what we have more than the way the global community loves it. They like our attire. They like our attire, but we need to also love it the more and project it the more.
Absolutely.
And wear it. Let us be identified with it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So critics sometimes see cultural diplomacy as just symbolic. So how can culture translate into tangible economic opportunities?
In various ways. Remember, culture is value. Culture is a way of life. Today, if you are looking at our art and culture, that is money. So when we go from one place to the other, we cross exchange activities culturally. One is being made. Also, we have our traditional wares, which I've said. If in textiles, that can earn us much, not just for us to wear it, but also to export it.
Absolutely.
For exportation, that is culture. You see, there is another thing that people do not understand about this cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy is soft power approach. Now, it is opposite kinetic application. Mm-hmm. What that means is that there are some conflict today that cost nations billions of dollars or millions of dollars to fight. Mm-hmm. Whereas in cultural diplomacy, just a bottle of water across the table, we solve the situation.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's cultural diplomacy. Just soft power approach. Just no, you may even discuss it. The discussion may not even get to when you take meal. Just water, compromising, agreeing, aligning. At the end of it, the whole thing ends. Then you leave your table with a handshake. It is cheaper economically. Mm-hmm. Compared to the kinetic approach whenever there is a problem between one country or the other. I'll also give you another instance. Recently, we were aware that Burkina Faso, they intercepted our plane landed there.
Yes, and
so the president there, the president was planning to take them to court and was ready to be harsh. Mm-hmm. Then what did Nigeria do? Nigeria deployed what is called cultural diplomacy,
right,
led by Foreign Affairs Minister. And when they got there, it became a relation discussion, became a broader discussion, and they came back smiling and fulfilled. Mm-hmm. That is cultural diplomacy.
While also succeeding. To release the captured troops that were detained at the time.
So you see that cultural diplomacy economically is far, far better. Is far, far better. Also, culture diplomacy, when you also exchanging culture, you do trade from one place to the other, from one city to the other, from one state to the other, from one nation to the other. Mm-hmm. So in that exchange and that relationship in that business, that is growth economically.
Right.
Yes. So cultural diplomacy increases economy. It grows economy. It makes people to live peacefully. Mm-hmm. It makes people to love themselves, for them to know themselves. Exactly. So, in all ramifications, socially, cultural diplomacy is recommended. Economically, it also pays. So, in every area of life, cultural diplomacy should be recommended. I also wish, because there are some countries today, they have Ministry of Cultural Diplomacy or Ministry of Diplomacy. Okay. I wish we have it here in Nigeria too. If we have it here in Nigeria... Different
from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of State?
Yes. Minister of Foreign Affairs is a face of the nation. That's the responsibility of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But we are talking of cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy is simply using soft power approach in every way of life.
Right.
So the cultural diplomacy minister today can interface with any minister, can interface with any governor, can also interface with any body or system. So it makes things easier. Things that would have caused fight, things that would have caused mayhem, the approach of when he engages them, you see that everybody will not have tools and there will not be growth. Okay, let us also come back now. In Nigeria today, you see, we are talking of Boko Haram, we are talking of others.
Insurgency
and others. The day the Nigerian government will say, at this hour, let us also apply this. Let us apply cultural diplomacy. All these problems will end. One of our presidents today who had that vision, may his soul rest in peace, Yaradua.
Right.
Remember during the Niger Delta, whatever, how the problem was in Niger Delta. Mm-hmm. What did he do? He applied what's called cultural diplomacy. He said, bring those people in the creeks. Goodluck Jonathan was the deputy then, or the vice president then. Right. He said, go and bring them. So when they also
amnesty,
gave them amnesty. And what happened? They now had their perception now changed. When their perception now changed, Nigeria was not at peace. That era of blowing pipes and all that is ended. So cultural diplomacy is a solution to everything. Mm-hmm.
I mean, recently we read about the British return of the Benin bronzes once again. I mean, it's been coming in batches. But the question here is, there's been debate around that it's probably better in the Cambridge Museum instead of here, where we don't even respect, may not even manage properly the museums and keep it properly preserved back here in our country, where I believe it truly deserves to be. What's your thought on it?
Well, in this circumstance, that is actually my statement.
Exactly. So it's touching home. Yeah, it's touching a nerve right there.
Yeah, exactly. We were at the palace the other time when they came and we were discussing it. You see, if you say it should be left in over there in Cambridge, it's like giving birth to a child. You say, okay, I've given birth to this child. Let this child go and stay with another family.
Exactly. And this is even worse. This is a deity that an entire land respect and revere.
So it's not. You see, if we have it, it's supposed that is part of culture. We are identified with it. Like in Benin, they are known for the production of what you call it, brass. Yes, they do the sculpture and all others. So if we have things like this, we don't say let's not be stored in our environment. It means it's misplaced identity.
Exactly. But what would it take? We have a lot of cultural artifacts. If you go to, I also gave an example here on the show yesterday where I talked about my trip to Abia State, and I went to the museum and was embarrassed that it had so much historic rich artifacts there that I didn't think were maintained properly. The environment wasn't even one that is revered. I don't even think people come there and visit those places. As a matter of fact, when I got there, I was in awe that no one is speaking about that war museum that is right there with so much history and the entire story of Nigeria to tell. That is what we see often. So we see instances in where some state governors will come in places that are preserved to tell the story of a people, but they just let it go, bring it down, build what they perceive is more important. So how do you think the perception, because it was quite embarrassing to see people discuss very rife how, oh, leave it in Cambridge. Nigerians were saying bronzes that were stolen. There's no other words to say it. Nigerians were saying, if it comes here now, people date it, so person will carry and run, it's not going to be preserved well and all of that. Nigerians were saying it. And this is things that forget the resources one can get. They forget the resources they can generate from it and the tourism potential that it has. How can you marry that where we don't even trust that we can preserve these things?
Yes, that is what's called institutional failure. In some countries, this art and craft and museum earns revenue. But here, because it is not valued, it is not nurtured, it is not preserved, that is why we are not paying attention to it. That is why we are not valuing it. Because in some, like you're talking about Cambridge now, they know how much they make there. But here in Nigeria, if the government wants to be very, very serious, there's a way they can encourage the industry, the cultural industry, the tourism industry. That will end also great. Remember, I've always said this. If we manage our museum, our cultural industry in Nigeria, foreigners will be coming here because Nigeria has the best weather. Whenever it is around October, whether from America, from Canada, and UK, and Europe, they will nearly relocate to Nigeria because the weather here is also very, very fair. In the process here, they will be enjoying our tourism environment. They will be enjoying our culture. They will be enjoying our weather. But it's just unfortunate that there's no encouragement here.
Absolutely.
That's where the problem is. That it's what I call a systematic failure.
Now, we are in the world of technology, and everything is fast-paced right now. So, technologically, with the growth of technology and digital platforms and virtual cultural experiences, how would we marry cultural diplomacy, adapting digital and this interconnected world that we have without really losing what is important to us?
Yes. You see, when we say digital or technology, technology is simply an enhancement to whatever that is already existing.
Absolutely.
Therefore, cultural diplomacy can also be enhanced technologically. There are so many people today who are not familiar with cultural diplomacy. Through technology, they can understand it more. Now, if we're also talking of diplomacy in technology, it's also very, very interesting. That is another topic, maybe talk for another day. In our technology activities today, we can also apply diplomacy. You know, if you look at it now, I pray this election that is coming, you see some of the candidates today, people that may just use AI to generate decisions. I say, so person has declined, has said he's no longer contesting.
We saw several.
Well, it's AI.
We saw even before it got to this point where you can be cloned. You could sit here and somebody will clone your voice, your gestures, everything about you. Even before it got to this part, we saw in 2023 where a doctored video of people sitting down to plan coups and all of that, plan all sorts just to bring people down, and that is really scary for us.
Yes, in everything we do in life, we require diplomacy. Now, we are talking about technology, we need to apply diplomacy. Otherwise, it may ruin us.
True.
Otherwise, the upcoming generation who may not be able to discern between the real AI-generated image and the real image. Look, of course, there should also be governing laws. There have to be law that should also be put in place to regulate it. Otherwise, we may just see tomorrow that somebody has sold us as Nigeria, and we don't have any country any longer, generated by AI.
By AI, exactly. You're right, the regulations and the world, this isn't an isolated concern for just Africa or Nigeria. The entire world is grappling with how to regulate this space that is beyond government to do. The only thing is strengthening institutions so that perpetrators of this may know that if you abuse it, you are going to be. But is it possible with these young people? How would you say we should reach them when it comes to cultural diplomacy? Because our image is very important when you discuss cultural diplomacy and the international perception. How can we reach young people to be very cautious of the activities that are done, upholding our traditions and cultures, and ensuring that they stay within the ambit of the law, considering the digital, how fast-paced the digital world has become?
It's possible, it is doable through collaboration.
Okay.
It's simply diplomacy collaborating with education. And I recall some time ago, I told you we had a meeting with the director, FCT, educational institution. We then said, look, we want to see how we can partner with your office so that we can take diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, down to the grassroots, down to the primary school.
Absolutely.
So the essence of that is that you will not see an Igbo man today. An Igbo family will be telling their son or tell their daughter, please don't play with that Hausa man. They are the one that killed us in 1967. So you will not see an Hausa woman say, hey, if you see the Nyamiri, please don't go close to them. So we need to ensure that the fear that has already been planted, that has been sown between some tribes in Nigeria, does not transcend to the younger ones. So for us to do this, is through collaboration, cultural diplomacy, and Ministry of Education.
Okay.
So that they, at time, maybe it could be once in 3 months or once in 2 months, there should be what is called diplomacy class. They discuss culture, how one culture is important to the other culture, how culture A and culture B can complement. we make sure that no culture is talked down on the other. So when we do this, you don't see that the children begin to value their culture, they begin to appreciate their culture, they also begin to appreciate the culture of their colleague students or pupils.
Exactly. So, I mean, we are talking about a country that considered removing history in our children's curriculum. How important is this? Do you think it will be taken by this administration and public office holders? Do they know the enormity of how important tolerance is?
History is culture. Therefore, if history is removed from the curriculum and culture is encouraged, history is still existing. History is still there. So there's nothing wrong in, as part of the responsibility of Ministry of Culture and Tourism, there should be regular competition of food.
Right.
Igbo food, Hausa food, and other foods. Now, when it is built, you remember, culture, Ministry of Culture, as we have it in the federal, we also have it in states. So it is not also wrong for various states to also practice such food competition.
Right.
So when we do this, the idea of having our food, promoting our culture, increasing our culture will remain. So if today there's no history in our curriculum and culture in our various local, state, and national level is encouraged, you discover that history is not removed from our curriculum, but it's still in practice.
Absolutely. I mean, you just mentioned a very important one right there. I spoke with a sports expert who said nothing saddens him more than the fact that traditional African games that we played growing up we're losing. These are the same traditional games that the West has made into a global competition. Today we are playing chess. We are playing Scrabble internationally. We are playing all of that. But we also had traditional games. And we are so rich in culture that almost every state or region has games that they identify with, that brought people together at the time. It's bad enough that we no longer have that kind of games that brings people in the community. You see them in groups. I am so blessed that I grew up having that opportunity to watch the community. If you watch through in the evenings, you see that this household and this household are all gathered here telling stories, playing games under the moonlight and all of that, playing games and all of that. I remember my grandfather has a farm, and we will come from all over the state back because he has to harvest from his farm. It used to be such a rewarding experience where everyone goes there. We do the harvest, we sit down, neighbors, and we call them houses, compounds. You know, houses will come over there, help us farm, live with some tubers of yam. It was a joyful experience. Yes. It's bad enough that we are losing that, but we are also losing these games. People who remember the games have forgotten. The hustle and bustle of living in this fast-paced world is making us forget. How can we go back, especially in the sport activities, and reawaken that very important aspect of us so we don't lose it?
Yes. If you look at the sport we are all craving for today, it's not our cultural game, like footballing and all this. We just find ourselves loving football. It is not our traditional game. So we have traditional games. All we need to do is to ensure that the government needs to ensure that traditional games are supported. If we look at the common one traditionally, which is wrestling, we have the standard global standard wrestling.
That's not our wrestling. Our wrestling is different.
Our wrestling is different. You see the way the men will tie their
so and even the way you stand to start the wrestling. I mean, I feel like showing the world, and that's to show. I always say that I'm a village girl.
We have our traditional sport
with its own rules.
Yes, our traditional sport should be encouraged and should be supported, and also should also be displayed globally. Who knows the more we try to export our traditional sports, it will be accepted globally. So it is my recommendation that our traditional sports is supported, is encouraged, they are taught in school. Even when students are supposed to be on break, we should begin to practice our traditional sports. In our community, we should practice our traditional from the local to the state and to the national.
Absolutely.
Who knows, if we do that, it will not be appreciated before the global community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking ahead now, what do you see as the biggest opportunity and maybe challenges for cultural diplomacy in Africa in the next, say what, decade?
Yes, it is a problem now, but the problem will be wearing as time goes on, because most people are greedy, most people are selfish. Instead of applying cultural diplomacy, they want to apply kinetic approach, because they will earn more, they will make money from it. I just talked about insurgency. Whereas if we say, okay, let us deploy soft power approach, which is cultural diplomacy, many people will be angry because they will not make money from it. But if we are going to buy fighter jets, if we are going to buy various bombs, we will buy grenades and all that, people enjoy it because
meanwhile, this is a soft power that would have averted.
On the round table, we just solve it, and they will have a handshake, and we drink kunu, we drink kakao, we drink various food, and everybody goes home. So as long as today reality, where people are doing financial competition, people will want to use whatever way to make money.
Absolutely.
So whatever, any area that will be cheaper, that will be easier for things to go well, they will not support it, other than the other side, where they will make so much money, and they will not support diplomacy. But I know as time goes on, we will get there.
So what actionable advice would you give young cultural leaders? And I'm happy to say that there are a lot of young people who are advocating for the conversation around our cultures, ensuring we don't lose our traditions and cultures. What's your advice for those who work in this space that is, they are unsung heroes? It's not a space where you say they enjoy any kind of rewards or anything. What's your advice?
Yes, we will not relent. We will continue to encourage ourselves, continue to encourage culture, and we also are pleading with the government to look at it, because before the real bureaucratic administration came in, it was culture.
Exactly.
You hear Benin Empire or your empire, where you saw the kings that were the leaders, that kings were ruling, and things were peaceful. So it is our sincere prayer and hope that the government should look back and see how the cultural leaders, can be encouraged. Because when they are encouraged, because they are closer to their people.
Absolutely.
When they are encouraged, they know how to relate with their people.
Absolutely.
Look, do you know that when the leaders are actually encouraged, they know people within their environment. These kidnapping will reduce, will minimize. Anybody that comes into your environment, you will know them.
Absolutely.
You will know them. So the leaders will play a big role in ensuring that we have peace, endless peace in this country, because they have a way of contributing what they can do locally, traditionally. Even the conventional security, the police and military, they cannot do it.
Absolutely. Ambassador, we really have run out of time. I wish we could have more of this conversation, but thank you so much for your time here on Razep Africa.
Thank you very much.
We've been discussing culture as a strategic tool, and how it shapes global perception with Ambassador Dickson Omoregi, Executive Director of the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy. But this is where we end today's edition of Razep Africa. Stay with us here on Global Television, as you already know. To more programming is coming. But until next time when we come, do have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on Razep Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.